All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to our today's speaker session with Akanksha. I am super excited for today's event because we actually met in person, right? When was it? Like a week ago or so?
Yeah, I think so.
Yes. So, and I was like, oh my gosh, you have to share your story with everyone at Break Into Data. And here you are. So, I would like to, first of all, I guess, give you the structure of how this speaker session would go. And then we're going to introduce Akanksha, our guest speaker today, and give her the stage. So, today we will talk about Akanksha's background, and hopefully, we're going to learn a lot. I'm sure we will. We will also go over what our community does, and at the end, we'll have a Q&A session for everyone who has the questions because we had around 240 people register for this event, which was very surprising to me because usually from one post we don't get that much interest. So I think many people are just curious to know how you made this. And yeah, so everyone prepare your questions. And if you have any follow up questions during the Akanksha's presentation, feel free to ask. If Akanksha can answer, would love that. But yeah, so I'm super excited. Today we're going to have Akanksha come and speak about her transition from data analytics role and her studies and how everything has changed when she learned about different strategies on landing a job. Her first job as a computer vision data scientist, which is a very hard field to get in. And I'm sure there's so many people that would like to know how you did it. So I'm going to pass it on to you.
Yeah, thank you so much, Mary. It's really nice to be here. I'm a bit excited to see the amount of interest that we got for this particular session. I don't think I've spoken in such a huge forum before, so that's really exciting for me to do. Um, Thank you for sharing the questions that we got from the audience earlier. That has really helped me shape my presentation. So I've just tried to include as many questions from the audience. So hopefully I'll be able to share more on the lines of what people here want to know. Um, I'm going to share my screen.
Sure.
So, are you able to see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, so now I'm into this slide share mode. Okay, great. Yeah, so thanks for being here, everyone. This is my journey of breaking into data science, and I'm going to start with my background so that everyone knows what my starting point is. And I've also highlighted the point where it turned for me. So I was working as a growth marketing analyst after my bachelor's. Then I pursued my MBA in international business. This is back in India. And then I was working as a product analyst before I moved to US to pursue my MS in business analytics. This was a 2-year course, and that was the time when coronavirus hit, and everything went down. So the course, everything was online. So I did my best to finish my course as soon as possible because I wanted to like find a job. Um, the one of the main things that one question that was asked was, why did I not choose computer science? I did not have a computer science background. I was not willing to pivot completely from a MBA product data background into computer science. So data analytics was the most obvious choice for me, and I just went ahead for that. The only thing that I did was the only thing that was really out of my comfort zone that I did was to choose computer science electives. In my course, they were not the first option that they gave to the students to select computer science electives, but I was able to reach out to some of my seniors, and I got to know about them. So some of them, like, they were like pattern recognition, artificial intelligence, and it just totally made sense because I was really interested in learning Python, and the kind of course that I was doing. I knew the basics of Python, but I was not getting challenged enough to work in a more complex code base where I was using and applying functions, for example. So this course really helped me with that. And then I also took marketing analytics just to be safe, because that was the background that I came from. And then I moved on to do as my summer internship. I worked on a research project with the same professor from computer science. So I worked on a gesture recognition project, which was my first real computer science project where I was working on Python. Um, Extremely challenging trying to go on GitHub, find the code base, read the code base, understand it, and then try to run it on your machine locally. Just doing this much was a very huge learning curve for me. And I continued working on this, shared my results with him. And this was super instrumental in helping me getting my capstone project, where I got to work on a recommendation engine with another startup. So I was working with a real startup team on a real problem where I was doing my research on the different types of recommendation engine, finding code on GitHub, and then being able to run that locally on my computer. So this was very, very rigorous work for me, given that I did not have any background in Python. And this really helped me build my confidence and my background, which was instrumental in getting where I am right now. And then, yeah, after I completed my course in 2021 December, in January I started applying. Within 3 months I was able to land my first job as a senior product analyst. um, there I was primarily just working on using SQL and helping with answering business questions. And then came my final break when I got my role as a data scientist, which is my current role at Walmart. And that's pretty much, yeah, that's pretty much what my background is, and what my journey looks like. I will do a little more deep dive into the job searching part of it. But yeah, I think some other questions that were asked were, what advice would you give to someone starting out their master's in AI degree? So I think, I'm just going to share what I just said. Focus on what you want to do, and then choose your electives very, very wisely. Choose your projects very, very wisely. And because they're going to have a huge impact in your job interview process when you're supposed to talk about the projects that you worked on. And especially because you're starting out, you're likely to not have a lot of work experience to talk about. So this is what comes in pretty handy at that point in time. And this is what helped me. So, and then the next question is that what was I doing before, and how I changed my strategy. So, yeah, so what was I doing before, in the sense that what did I do um, until I changed my strategy? So before I changed my strategy, I was working on my coursework until December. I was really busy. I was just trying to submit all my assignments, and ensure that my coursework is that my grades are on track. And while trying to do that, once a week I was applying to every job post that I saw. Anything that had data in it, I was just applying for it. And with respect to tailoring my CV, I was just opening a job description, roughly reading it, and then I was just randomly trying to make changes to my CV and submitting it. It definitely did not work. So what did work is something that I'm going to come to in a bit. But yeah, I think this is another question that I got was, how do you not lose hope? How do you keep up with it? How it gets really tough, and how does the process look like? And this is why I wanted to share this slide with you, just to give you an idea that there's a whole lot of rejection that comes up, especially in the start. In my case, it happened because I had never ever given a technical interview. I'd never given an SQL assessment. I'd never given a Python interview before, and this was all new to me. So of course, my first few interviews I flunked. In most of the cases, I was not able to clear my SQL assessment round. In other cases, I was not able to talk about A/B testing, which was something that I was doing as part of my job. I was still not able to talk about it. So my first two roles, my interviews, I bombed them. They was really bad. And then I started preparing, and then I was still applying to um, any and every role. So this is a product analyst hardware role. I've never worked with hardware before. So of course I was able to clear the SQL screening, but during my hiring manager round, I did not make it through because hiring manager was able to see that my previous experience was not relevant, and my CV was hence not aligned for this particular role. um and then I continued practicing my SQL, practicing my story, continued applying for more relevant job roles, and then came my first break where I applied for this company as a data analyst, and I was able to clear all my round, including the SQL assessments and the case studies, etc. And then came my second product analytics interview, which was with Chegg, and this was a no-brainer for me now when I think about it, because I had worked in ed tech, so my CV really aligned with this particular role, and I was prepared with my SQL round, so everything else went pretty smooth with this one. So this one really went through. Once I started working here, I realized that I could now start focusing on just the kind of roles that I wanted to apply for. Um, and also because I had, I don't know if it's true or not, but because I was working in the US in a certain position, that also sort of helped me to get more and more callbacks. Um, and this is when I primarily started getting a lot of data science interviews. And then again, the same process started, where my first interview I was able to clear my technical SQL, also clear my technical statistics, because this is something that I had already failed here, here. But I really bombed the Python screening round, because again, I'd never given one before and I had no idea how it would look like. And then I had another one at Amazon where I bombed in statistics, until I bombed enough in interviews to be able to finally clear the current Walmart interview. So this is how I cleared the interviews. It was a tough process. It took a lot of effort. It took a lot of patience from my end, optimism from my end to be able to get here. And unfortunately, for people who have never given interviews, technical screenings before, it might look like this. So just wanted to share this. Um, yeah, so this is how I pivoted to my strategy pivoted to looking at my process like this. Earlier I was just applying. I had a resume, and I was just randomly applying to anything and everything that I saw, until I took a step back, and worked on each and every aspect of the job application, looked at it in detail, and then started working on it. So I'm pretty sure everyone knows that the first step is to get the calls, and the second step is to prepare for the interview. And getting calls has two different parts to it. The first part is that your CV, you have to prepare your CV. It has to look very relevant to the kind of role that you're applying to. And the second part is actually applying. And applying is not as simple as just going on LinkedIn and just clicking apply and just uploading your resume. That is like a part of it. But unfortunately, in this competitive market, you have to find other ways to reach out to the hiring managers and the recruiters who are actively looking. So the key here is that your resume should match the role that you're applying to, and then you should be able to reach out to people who are actually hiring. And applying via the dashboard usually does not end up in that. um, so I'm going to talk more about the strategy here. And then, of course, the second part is how do you prepare for it. This internet has everything that you could possibly need to be able to prepare for the interviews. But actually being able to break it down into four or five different rounds that you're going to be preparing for is the key. When I started, I was in the middle of my master's. I did not even know that SQL is going to be a part of it until I gave my interview, and it was really shocking for me. And that's when I realized how far behind I was as compared to my peers who at least knew that what all different kind of interviews are they going to face. So that is going to be really instrumental in how you start preparing. um, so I think let's talk about preparing your resume. There's a lot of information here. Please feel free to take screenshots if it helps you. Um, and yeah, so let talking about preparing your resume. The number one step to preparing your resume is identifying the role that you're applying to. A data science resume cannot look like a data analytics resume, cannot look like a data engineering resume, cannot look like a machine learning engineer resume. If you're planning to apply to a data analytics and a data science role, then that means that you have to have two different resumes. One resume talks about why you are a candidate for a data scientist role, and the other resume talks about why you're a data analytics role. One CV cannot talk about both the cases, and if it is, then it's actually telling you that your CV is very diluted. Another question that I get a lot is what projects to pick, what experiences to add. I don't have any experience to add. What should I put on my resume? So it will actually depend on the exactly the kind of roles that you're applying to. So when you're applying to data science roles, you want to talk about the machine learning projects that you've worked on, the machine learning courses that you've taken, the machine learning certifications that you've taken. Your technical skills should highlight that you know Python, that you know TensorFlow, that you know SQL, etc. But when you're doing a data analytics resume, that should talk about other skills such as A/B testing. It should talk about hypothesis testing. It should talk about dashboarding. It should talk about data visualization. It should not talk about your that Python. It doesn't matter in data analytics if the role doesn't require that you know Python. It is adding absolutely no value to say that that you know how to use Python. It doesn't make any it doesn't add any value to say that you know supervised learning. It doesn't add any value to say that you know deep learning. You only want to talk about things that are required, and a job description is the best way for you to know that. So a good idea would be reading 4 or 5 job descriptions, identifying all the keywords from those different job descriptions, and then working backward to understand how you can put those on your CV if it's already not there. Like for example, a friend of mine wanted to apply to a role which required A/B testing, and like she had no experience in A/B testing. So the most obvious thing to do was to take a course, or to pick up a project where you worked on A/B testing. So that's how you fill your resume. That's how you know what's the right thing to add or not to add. um, the second thing is I want to talk about is tailoring your resume, and I think pretty much everyone on internet talks about tailoring your resume, but I had no idea what it meant when I was working on mine. So I'm just going to talk about some very specific things. Don't make changes on the fly. Like if you're applying for a role and if you don't have a resume prepared for it, you can't make 2 changes on your CV and apply. You will need to put in more effort than that. And what I just talked about 2 minutes ago about creating 2 different resumes is going to solve this problem for you. It should solve this problem for you. Um, then have separate CVs to highlight relevant experiences, and you cannot have the same CV. That's true. If the text doesn't strengthen your case, remove it. One example is that I had 3 research papers published, and they were all about data analytics. I had to remove those from my data science CV, and they were published research papers, and I was like, how is this not relevant? But it was not relevant. It was just taking up space where I could be talking about another relevant project that I'd worked on. So that was like a huge decision for me, but it was the right decision for me, and it really worked for me. So ensure that anything that you're putting on your CV either adds value to it, or leaving it blank is going to work best for you, because then your CV is not looking busy. You're able to highlight exactly what your skills are. And that's usually better than having a lot of stuff on your CV and where you're not able to highlight anything at all. Make it less busy and readable. Very, very important. Short bullet points, not like this presentation where it's like full of text. It should be very, very readable. Um, if one another thing, question a lot of people have asked is that if I worked, let's say for example, in India, and now I'm in US, how do I talk about my experience? So if you worked in a company that is not known in the US, you're going to have to write very short line describing what that company is. Like for example, the edtech that I worked for is not very known here in the US. So in a small bracket, I wrote that this is an edtech in India with these many users, and this is the revenue. So that sort of gives it more, it makes it more comprehensible. Even if it's easier to understand what your background is to the reviewer, whoever is looking at your CV. Um, this is how I would place items on my CV. I would on the top put technical details about all the skills that you know. Then I would talk about my experiences, followed by my project and my academics. Academics will be at the end, even if I just graduated. Add git links to the projects and technical blogs. If you're adding projects to your resume, and if you have only projects to talk about, it's a great idea to have a GitHub profile. If not, it's okay. It's not something that you have to do, but I was eventually able to move some of my projects to my GitHub, and I just linked them. I don't know how effective it is, but it's nevertheless a good idea, because if they wanted to look at the kind of projects that you've done, they can always look at your profile in detail. And then finally, how to stand out and land more interviews. Your technical skills should highlight um, your skills that match with the role that you're applying for. If your CV does not reflect the kind of person that they want to hire, they will not give you a call back. So one of the biggest reason why you're not getting a call back is because your CV is not tailored enough. And you have to keep working on it, keep refining it. I reached out to like so many people, like I don't know, like maybe 10 people, who gave me 10 different feedbacks. And after that, I was able to finalize my CV that started getting me results. So don't feel shy. Reach out to people, reach out to everyone you see that could help you. Um, and yeah, that's the only way to go with respect to CV. Um, so now comes the second part, that is applying. So one question was, how many roles do I apply for in a day? My number was 10 to 15 roles per day. That's the total number of roles I applied for, and this would include your LinkedIn applications and the applications you send on company websites. Track your applications on an Excel sheet. Like for example, some companies I was really interested in, I put the role that I had applied for and the name of the company on an Excel sheet, and along with where I am in the process if I get a call back on that one. One really important process for me that really worked out for me was cold outreach. What did I do? I first of all, I just created an email template. So this reduced the friction to reaching out to people. Once I have a template, I'm going to send out the same message to pretty much everyone that I know, and ask them if they know someone who's hiring or if they're hiring, and attach my CV with it. And I did it using a CRM platform. So it was called Apollo IO. I just logged in, created a free website, free account, and I was able to go on LinkedIn and add people to that particular list. And the moment I added someone to the list, it automatically sent out an email. So someone who's worked in marketing, sales would know how this process works. I'd worked in marketing, so it was like a no-brainer for me to do this. This was really effective. One question that a lot of people also ask me is, I'm not getting any referrals. What do I do? You'll be surprised to know that all my data science role, except the Walmart role, every other role that I applied to was not a referral. I had applied to Amazon via referrals. I never got a call back. I only got callbacks when I was able to reach out to a recruiter who was actively hiring, or I was able to reach out to a hiring manager who was actively hiring. So there's a chance that cold outreach is going to be more um, effective, because you're actually just reaching out to a person who's really hiring right now. And people post on LinkedIn. You'll find a lot of people who are hiring on LinkedIn posting about the roles that they're hiring about. So that's going to be your best bet, spending a lot of time on LinkedIn by sending out applications and also reaching out to people there. Yeah, so next step is preparing. Okay, now you have a CV, you sent out a lot of applications, and now you have an interview. So what do you do next? And preparing is not very different from sending out applications. You have to know what you're preparing for. If you're preparing for a business analyst role, then you have to focus on SQL and data visualization and data analysis kind of interview questions. They're going to most probably do like a case study where you have to do a data analysis using SQL, or they're going to do like a product case study or a business case study, something like that. It's usually a good idea to reach out to the recruiter who's scheduling interviews to understand what kind of the total number of rounds and what to expect in each interview round. That will give you a good idea of what to and how to prepare for it. Similarly, for the product data analyst role, you're going to have product and data analyst is most likely to include hypothesis testing or an A/B testing round. I'd given multiple of those. Then SQL, of course, they're going to ask you, and then other case study, causal analysis, things like that. And then finally, data science is going to be completely different. Data science is they're going to ask you Python, not algorithm Python, mind you, but NumPy pandas. And then they're going to ask you SQL. A/B testing depends on what kind of a data science role it is. In my case, the one that I gave for Walmart, it was based on the purely based on machine learning. They did not ask me A/B testing because that's not the kind of work that happens. And then there was like a deep dive into the projects that I'd worked on. And yeah, product case studies. I think I'm missing that bit, but yeah, product or data case studies, business case studies, that's mostly going to be a part of it. Yeah, so this is like a summary of what to expect for each particular role. Now coming to the question of how to prepare for it. So for SQL, it's the easiest thing to do. Just go on Lead Code, start with easy questions, then continue to practicing medium questions until you feel comfortable in easy and medium questions. And if time permits, you could also try some hard questions and try to finish them in like 15-20 minutes. Do not stress about not being able to do hard questions. You don't have to. If you're feeling comfortable in medium, that's good enough. That's like pretty good. The only catch here is that you have to know all the different ways to solve a question. So like, for example, if you're able to solve a question in a certain way, then the interviewer could ask you that, could you use the CTE or window partitioning like to solve the same questions? That could happen. So you have to know all the concepts. That's the first thing, and then you should be able to use those concepts to solve the questions. Statistics this one was a very tricky one for me. This would require you to know data distributions, probability, and hypothesis testing. And in hypothesis testing, mostly A/B testing. So different types of, Z tests, T tests. You will have to know which one to use when, and etc. So this is one of like particularly difficult one for me. It took me a lot of time to practice this one, but this is what it is for statistics. For then came product case studies. Uh, that this is like it's an open-ended session, but you have to ask the right questions. It is primarily about being able to identify the right metrics, um, to be able to solve the problem. Try to understand, ask a lot of questions. You primarily have to ask a lot of clarifying questions. Not asking questions is a red flag. Um, you can find a lot of YouTube videos about how these interviews go about. They're like pretty good videos on YouTube. Then comes data analysis and data modeling case study. So this could be a Python case study. This could be a screening. It depends completely on which company you're applying for. If you have a um, Python round, that means you're applying for a data scientist role. You have to know data manipulation using NumPy pandas. They're going to give you a data frame, and they're going to ask you to fill missing values. They're going to ask you to, you know, do all sort of things on Jupyter Notebook. So this is um, that's what it looks like. If you Google um, questions on Python, NumPy, data frame questions, interview questions, you'll find like a lot of GitHub projects where they've compiled all these questions. So that's like a great way to do it. Then, of course, is like a behavioral round. This you have to be able to answer using the STAR method. So start with a situation, task that you were given to solve, and then share the results with them. How you approached it. This is like a very standard thing, especially if you're interviewing for Amazon. This is going to be expected of you. And then there could be another round where you talk about a project. So you have to prepare a project, where someone's going to say, okay, which project do you want to talk about? And you are able to talk about it in depth and in breadth, about what you did, why you did that, why you chose this particular process, why did you not choose other processes. So they're just trying to understand the quality of the work that you did, how thorough you were, and um, how good you are in the field or the thing that you worked on. That is primarily the idea of this particular round. um, yeah, I think another question that I came across was timeline for acing interviews. It's a very subjective question. So I'm just going to say that it took me 6 months. I pretty much started preparing in the final semester, but I was not able to give it 100%. And I started preparing full time after that. 3 months into it, I was able to crack my first job. Another 3 months, I was able to crack my data science role, my data science interview. So it took me a total of 6 months. For someone who knows how to use SQL, or who's good at a product case study, is probably going to be 3 months for them. Sorry. But for someone who's super new to everything, but they started preparing for it in their first semester, it's probably going to be 2 months for them. So this is again like a compilation of all the questions that I was not able to add in my first few slides. How to stay motivated. I would just say that ideally you should be busy and worried about everything else that you have yet to cover instead of thinking about motivation. As long as you have a clear plan of action of what you're going to do today and what's left to do, what's the next thing to do, there's a good chance that you will stay motivated, and be worried about trying to cover as much ground as you can today. And that's what I did, um, and that's what got me through this. Um, So my last minute strategy, when I realized that it was very late to find a job, um, I panicked. That was the first thing that I did, and then I reached out and I seeked help. That's when I realized that people around me probably have a support system that I don't. I did not know anyone because I was remote, and also because I did not know everyone around me was a computer science graduate. I did not know anyone who was working in the data field or was preparing for data. So I reached out to the and got enrolled with the boot camp. I took mock interviews there. I gave a lot of mock interviews. Mock interviews. I tried to stay in touch with my peers, try to understand what they were doing, what was working for them, and that's how I came up with my strategy. That's how I was able to take a step back and understand everything that I was missing out on, and made a change there. Um, what is the strategy applied for getting a first job after I graduated? I played safe. I applied for a data analyst role. I applied for a product analyst role because that's what my background was, and that's where I was more likely to get calls. And I did get calls, and I just worked hard until I was able to crack my interview. And I once I had a once I had a job, and then I continued working, looking for what I wanted to do eventually, which is data science. Am I eligible for a data science course job if having no technical background? Um, if you don't have any technical background, it means that you're required to get some experience or education or some way to put projects on your CV to talk to, so that you're able to talk about it and justify your candidacy during the interview, and that is all that matters. And if you're able to do that, yes, you're eligible. um, how much advanced calculus and statistics for is required for current data science position, and how often do you actually use these skills? Advanced calculus, not so much. Statistics, yes. I think I just shared earlier. um, I had to study statistics for A/B testing. It's all statistics. For data modeling as well, you need to understand the basics of statistics, and I use it every day. There is no way to be working in data and not be looking at the basic average, mean kind of metrics every day. How to get better at programming specifically for data science roles? um, I did talk about it: by taking up projects and courses, by pushing yourself to do things that you're scared of doing, and you probably think that you'll never be able to you'll never be able to pull off. That's the best way to do it. I took computer science courses, and 6 months before I started school, I picked up Python for Dummies. It's a book. I started practicing and learning Python because I was really anxious about being able to write code, because I'd never done that before. So I was always over prepared, overthinking, anxious about it. So I took these steps, and eventually, by the time I started interviewing, I had gained a lot of confidence in being able to write code in Python. Which project industry certifications to invest on? Um, this is again like a very tricky question, and it all goes down to the kind of roles that you're applying to. So I'm going to again repeat that: just look at all the job descriptions collectively, look at 5 6 job descriptions, the kind of roles that you're really interested in, and then pick out the keywords, and then based on those keywords, look at what you want to do. um, I would suggest that you would want to do something very simple. It doesn't have to be complex. It doesn't have to be a big data science project. It doesn't have to be a big Python project. It could be a very simple thing. But you have to be able to, you should be able to talk about it. Like whatever you do, you should be able to talk about it in your interview. And that's all that matters. It doesn't matter if you don't have an AWS certification. No one cares about an AWS certification, but you need to know how to use BigQuery, um, which is essentially SQL. You need to know how to use Jupyter notebooks, which you will know if you do some projects. So that's essentially the core of this entire process. So we're 40 minutes in. I'm pretty much done. Here are some links. You could follow my projects on GitHub. I sometimes write on Medium, and that's my LinkedIn profile. And of course, there's links for breaking into data community. It's a data community, and you're going to need a lot of help to be able to reach out to people who are in the same boat as you are, to be able to reach out to people who are able to help you with your mock interviews, who are able to help you with whatever you need help with. I don't know, like CV review, etc. So this is like a great place to find more peers and mentors, and to stay in touch with other people who are on the same journey.
Great. Yes, thank you so much for sharing so much information. I think I have never seen so many words on a presentation that is relevant to a job search in data science. I think we've heard a lot of interesting points actually. So, and I don't know if you can see, people are also putting in the chats follow-up questions. We're gonna address them now.
Yeah.
But guys, tell us if you have any big questions that you want to get started with, because I know these are all tactical things that we're sharing, Akanksha is sharing right now. So would love to. Oh, never mind this. Yes, we're testing out new streaming place, so I'm pretty excited for this. Okay. Yeah, go ahead and let's start with the questions from the chat.
Yeah,
Shall
sure.
we? So I'm sorry, I don't know how to pronounce her name, but Jay, is DSA required for data science?
Yeah, so this is like one of the most asked questions. So I did not prepare with the essay. I did, however, practice some basic algorithm questions on LeetCode with Python, just like very basic questions. I knew what a map is. I knew what a dictionary is. I knew what a list is, and I knew how to manipulate them. But nothing very super comprehensive in detail. There you could Google some questions, and say specifically for data science. 80% of those questions will be about NumPy pandas, and the 20% questions that you see, feel free to just like read up on them, and that's pretty much it. It shouldn't be super complicated. At least it wasn't for me.
Okay.
That's okay. I think I can quickly go and ask,
Yeah.
like, read the questions and take it. So the I think Precious is asking, what bootcamp did you use for mock interview? What was it? Interview Kickstart. So it was not Interview Kickstart. If I remember correctly, the name was Pathrise, and they did mock interviews and resume. They helped me with applications as well. Um, it's very expensive. These boot camps are extremely expensive. So you have to be very careful with what kind of boot camp that you go with. There are different ones that offer different services, but yeah, I think this is pretty much all the learnings that I got from the boot camp. If you're able to follow some of them for free, it's great. But yeah, definitely getting personalized support from these boot camps might be helpful to some of us. um, Sujan asks, we also have portfolios customized for data science role. Does that matter that I'm applying to data analytics roles? Again, I'm not sure I understand what you mean by portfolios customized for data science roles, but again, it all comes down to what you write in your CV. If you're applying for a data analytics role and if you have all the relevant skill, project, experience, whatever it is that you can talk about in your CV that is tailored to that particular data analytics role, um, it shouldn't matter. But what doesn't help is knowing data science related things. That is not going to help you for a data analytics role. If you don't know, if you don't use Tableau, if you're not able to visualize, if you don't know about dashboarding, no one cares that you know machine learning. That's again the point that I want to emphasize. Should we not have profile summary? I had a profile summary, and I feel like it's a great way to talk about why you are a relevant candidate for this particular role. People, not everyone wants to add this. I put it on the top on my resume. If you're able to write about um, yourself that is not very repetitive of what you're already mentioning at the bottom, I think it's a good idea. Is technical details section basically the skills section? Yes, that's what it is. Where can we go to learn free SQL skills? Um, YouTube. There's so much information on YouTube. There are so many courses that you could take, but it only matters if you're able to stick to it. Um, I still am very tempted to switch courses in between, but if you're able to find a course and stick to it, there is no wrong course to take. That's the rule. If you are tempted to switch in between, then it's probably not a good idea. Um, can you provide example on what you changed specifically? Because I feel like I'm doing the same mistake. I only change one or two things in my resume, like some skills, and apply. Yeah, and I feel a lot of us do that. The first thing that I changed was create two different resumes, one for data analytics, one for data science. And then for data science, my technical skills on the top talked about my skills in Python, TensorFlow, etc. Followed by SQL, followed by I don't know, like A/B testing, statistics, hypothesis testing, and then I talked about how I also know uh, campaign management or something like that. But for a data analytics role, the first thing that came on the top was SQL. I completely removed TensorFlow, Python from my CV. It was, I tried to not mention it, not highlight it. Followed by A/B testing, analytics. I talked about campaign management, Google Analytics, dashboarding, and everything that I used in my previous experiences. I talked about A/B testing, hypothesis testing, all those relevant experiences. And even in my experience, like for example, I moved my projects, changed my projects. So I had 6, 7 projects, and I had 3 for data science and I had 3 for data analytics. So that was a completely different section in both of my CVs. My previous roles was when I was working as a product analyst and a marketing analyst. In the product, in this particular resume, analytics resume, they were bigger than my experience as a research and as a research the research roles that I picked in my college. But in my data science CV, the research roles were bigger than the analytics roles that I played, that I worked on earlier. So that's how I, picked and chose what I wanted to highlight and how I wanted to highlight it. That was the biggest difference between the two CVs that I'm talking about. And then, of course, you can go ahead and talk about whatever role that you're applying to. Everything that you need to that role requires could be part of your CV. That is something that's going to be very specific to your use case, and I suggest that you spend some time there. Is there some profile scanning software to check for resume match? Yes, there is. I'm forgetting the name, but there is also a plugin, a Google Chrome plugin, where I would upload my CV and it would tell me how percentage match there is between my CV and this particular role. I suggest you do that. It is not representative of what will happen, but it's nice to know if you're missing out on some keywords. It'll highlight those for you, and it's available for free. You should go ahead and get that tool. Um, what do they ask in Python technical screen for that position? So the position that I applied to, I was asked, you know, the basic lead code questions. I don't remember exactly, but the first question that you see about um, moving items in a list. I don't remember it right now, but like the basic easy lead code questions that you see, some of those questions. The other data science interview that I gave with UB, there they asked me NumPy and data frame. They did not ask. That was a product data science role. So there they asked me about data frames and A/B testing, etc. In this particular in Walmart, they did not ask me about A/B testing, and because it was like a coding heavy role. Okay, I think there are more questions. What is the best way to approach recruiter hiring manager on LinkedIn? Have a customized um, message where you are able to talk about what you offer um, instead of saying I want to apply. Everyone wants to apply, but how do you match with the role that they're hiring for? That's the best way to apply for any role. So if they're looking for a data science role, then just talk about how you're a good data science candidate with experience, relevant projects, relevant degree, and just send that across with along with your resume. Always attach your resume. Do not expect a response. That helps you with managing expectations. Um, Maybe I got like one response in 30 emails that I sent out, or maybe even 100. I don't know. I don't remember. But yeah, that's how it is. A lot of people are not going to be active on LinkedIn. Only if they're posting on LinkedIn, they're going to be active on LinkedIn. And if they are posting and are active on LinkedIn, they're going to be inundated with a lot of information. So um, be prepared for that. You have to stand out and you have to be very crisp in what you're saying. How did you prepare for business and product related case studies? Any resources or links? So there is this on YouTube, there is this channel that's run by Emma Ding. She talks about product case studies. Apart from that, I think all the big people that the moment you Google product case studies on YouTube, you'll find like a lot of people there. But I think more than anything, the most important thing that you're going to have to do is like take mock interviews. So if you're able to find someone in the community who's able to take your interviews with you, that is the best way, because the way the YouTube interview will go is not the way that you're thinking, and that's not how the interview is going to go. So you will also have to practice that. So listening to a lot of interviews is great because you get a lot of ideas, and then you're able to develop a framework of how to approach a question. But then the next step is definitely practicing. GitHub doesn't seem so user friendly for approaching projects from different sources. Are there any other sites to use? I did not use any other sites, but there, of course, are. I mean, if you Google, I'm pretty sure you'll find something for data visualization. And the idea is that wherever you choose to share your projects, just link it in your CV, and hopefully the recruiter or whoever wants to hire you is able to look at them and get more data points on why you should get a call back. How to find hiring manager and how to reach out to them. You find hiring managers on LinkedIn. That's the way I did it. And you could send out like an email, or you could just send out a message on LinkedIn. How do you get the emails of recruiters and hiring managers? Unfortunately, the CRM tools they do that for you. So if you go on the internet, if you sign up for Apollo.io, you just have to go on to the LinkedIn profile of that particular person. It'll find their email. You can just add them to the list and just send out your email. It's really amazing how convenient it is nowadays. Pathrise is not free. It says you can pay once we get an offer. Yes, they will take a certain amount, percentage amount from your first first year of your payment, or like they have their payments method set up, and they're going to ask you based on what kind of salary you end up getting. Can you walk us through your resume, the kind of resume you prepared for BADADS? I think I just did. Just I just had my experiences and my projects, and I just selected the relevant ones. It also means that I had a two-page resume if I combine the two of them. You have to that is one thing that you have to work on. You have to identify as many projects and that you can talk about as possible. Usually it's nice. I know along with your degree it's not feasible, but that's that's one way to do it. I did not add courses in my CV. That's another way that you could talk about your skills in case you don't have projects, because they're relevant, right? Because you just took a coursework, and that definitely adds more credibility to you. What is the best way to get all relevant keywords? I think I just mentioned that um, getting that Chrome plugin. If you just Google, I don't know, like match my CV with ATS CV, something will pop up. I'm pretty sure there's just so many of them. Did you pay for BigQuery access, Google BigQuery access? No, I did not. When I say Google BigQuery, I mean SQL. And I was practicing SQL on LeetCode. So, yeah, I had paid access to LeetCode. That is something that was very important for me to prepare, because I used to solve like 2, 3 SQL questions pretty much every day. Yeah. Should you always attach a cover letter with every job application? uh, Kudos to you if you're able to. I was not able to. I wanted to apply to 15 roles, and I don't think anyone reads a cover letter. If you're able to just write a um, two line description of yourself at the top of your CV, it should work as a cover letter. But I did not send a cover letter, so I don't have any experience with that.
Great. Looks like you went through all of the questions. Wow. Yes, so it's a lot. You know how they say searching for a job is a job in itself, and sometimes it's a lot more stressful because there's no one to guide you. And I like how you highlighted the fact that the amount of help that you received after you changed your strategy was so different, because before, as you mentioned, you didn't have anyone in data, and that's like, how are you supposed to know how to land a job in data if nobody is there to guide you? So it's that's why we created Break Into Data, to bring people like yourself, so that we can enlighten the path of many beginners or aspiring data scientists. And the things that you mentioned, like mock interviews, coding things, coding questions, daily ones, and all those like concepts that you need to know, you have to do those things on a daily basis, and it's really hard to do. That's why I think many people are asking, like, how do you keep motivated? Because there's a lot to do, and you can get easily overwhelmed. And that's why communities like Break Into Data exist, and that's why you can have support that you need. And I wanted to share quickly before we finish our stream for today what is Break Into Data, and see how you guys can get involved. So this, let me go ahead. Oh, nice. This is like, I really like this streaming platform, but so this is. Can I move? Oh, sorry. Like in the middle of the stream, I also confused the things. I apologize. I'm still figuring it out. Okay, maybe like this. So what is our community about? Our community at the moment has lots of things that are available for anyone who is trying to break into data. And by data, I mean data science, data analytics, data engineering. And mainly from my side, the content that I create is machine learning because I'm simply that's what I am obsessed about. But data is across different like domains and industries. We have people that create and contribute to our open source projects. So if you're looking for projects, you should come in and help build our infrastructure because then you have a real like a real project that you can show like, hey, I'm making an impact with the break into data that has like 2,000 people on Discord and 4,000 people that are following us on LinkedIn on our community page. And we need people that could create different types of bots that could improve the consistency of, let's say, your coding practice. And that's why we have accountability bots that take in your leak code. For instance, if you have an account, you can come in and give us your username, and we will track your daily coding questions, and we can see on the leaderboard who is doing the most. So these are one of the things. This the whole thing. We're experimenting because we're trying to figure out what is the best way people can learn and grow together. And it turns out we do it like with other people socially. So that's why I encourage everyone to contribute and join our accountability sessions that happen every week on Saturday. And we also have weekly speaker sessions like these. And if you have anyone who you like, who you aspire to be like, then feel free to recommend them. I would always love to see new people, more people that can share their experience because everyone has their own unique transition journey. So that's that, and yeah, feel free to join us on Discord. I think I have a way to create. So check this out. This is so cool. Join our Discord. QR code. So try to use the QR code. I hope it works, but you'll be yeah, you'll go to our Discord server that way, and check out our GitHub too. You'll find lots of projects there. And yeah, follow us on YouTube and LinkedIn. And let me share the links that you provided. And everyone who has a follow up question, feel free to connect with Akanksha. I hope you don't mind that people will reach out to you. And I hope you will share more of how your career right now is transitioning, what you're learning. I'm sure people would like to know what is it like to work as a data scientist at a large corporation like Walmart. And yeah, would
Yeah,
love
for
to
sure.
learn from that too. But maybe let's last few questions that are not related to your to the interview process. How are you enjoying being a data scientist now that you are a data scientist?
Yeah, it feels great to be where I am right now because at the end of the day, I have better problems. Like I like the things that I complain about now, my code not running or me not following up, reading enough research papers, and this is exactly the kind of place where I wanted to be in. So it's definitely very challenging. The team that I work in, I work with people who've done their PhDs. So I'm always catching up to them, even after 2 years being into the role. It feels like I just joined. The learning curve is pretty steep. It's very challenging and hence very fulfilling. Yeah, that's pretty much it.
Is this what you expected it would be like?
Yeah, this is what I was hoping it would be like. Like for example, I wanted to read about like all the Gen AI technologies that are coming up. So I'm now having to read research papers and stay in touch with whatever new new methods of LLMs are coming up, different versions of models. How is a version 2 different from a version 3? These technicalities, these details. So that's what I'm trying to catch up with. So I spend a lot of my time and energy on reading research papers and summarizing them on Medium, on my Medium blog. It's not where I want it to be, but it definitely feels very nice and fulfilling.
Great. Yes, always love to hear those stories when you actually end up enjoying the job that you've been looking for. And it looks like does the company help you with like upskilling too, and just like learning, facilitating more learning?
Yeah, I do have like I do get 20% time weekly that I can dedicate to my learning. And like I said, because I'm on my job required to keep up with everything that's coming up, like new models, how to, like if I'm trying to solve a problem, I could be using object detection model, but now we have LLMs to do everything, right? So reading up on those, trying to run those on my local machine, see how they're working, trying to understand the code details about it. So all of that is, yeah, it's pretty much part of it, and that's how I was hoping for it to be, because because otherwise, apart, if you're working on not learning on the job what you want to learn, then being able to find time to learn those things outside your job is, it's very ambitious. And I enjoy my taking my time off after work, so I'm grateful that I'm able to get to do it on job.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's great. Yes, thank you so much for being here and sharing your journey.
Of
I would love
course.
to stay in touch. And if you, I don't know if you are on our Discord, I would love to see you there too, because lots of things are happening. And yeah, we're trying to grow our community further and share knowledge. But awesome. I
Sure.
think
Yeah. I think I don't think I'm on Discord, but I would love to join. And thank you so much for inviting me today for this talk. It was a great experience.
awesome. Thank you for coming. We had a lot to learn.
Thank you.
All right.